What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Dropping Dimes, the show where we talk about all things basketball. I'm your host, Rodrigo, but you can call me Rod. And joining me, he is the mayor of Wade County, the king of Kentucky, Blake. How you doing, my friend?
Right. I'm doing great. Sunshine and good vibes over here.
So
It's
jealous.
almost 70 degrees for me, which is about
Oh,
20, 21 Celsius. So it is perfect weather.
you're killing me. But I'm glad that you got good weather. Daylight savings, man. Like I don't know. We're gonna talk about it, but
Yep. Losing that
I'm
sleep.
struggling. I'm struggling. I feel like Jokic yesterday. Wait, what a great segue. I call him Theo, but you might know him as Leo. How you doing, my man?
Excuse me?
Who writes these intros? I don't know. I just read the script, but who writes them? I don't know.
Came
Not my
in heavy.
responsibility.
Are you coming in super heavy like the rain that we're getting in Vancouver right
See,
now?
we're just talking about weather and daylight. I don't know. I don't know.
I'm doing fine, just so you know. Just like my boy Jokic, we're fine in the West.
But you know what? We're missing one big important part here, and it is the president of the Pacific Northwest storming into action. Lars, how are you doing, my man?
What's up? I'm doing very well, very well. I'm rocking this Exeter sweatshirt, Phillips Exeter Academy, located in Exeter, New Hampshire. Just a quick shout out to my niece who just got accepted to the school, and I'm very excited about it.
Let's go. Let's
Big
go.
news. Congrats
That's
to
amazing.
her.
Congratulations.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, fellas. Well, we have quite a lot to talk about. And you know what? In the spirit of academia, all of us have our alma mater. But speaking of alma maters, we're going to have an amazing preview of March Madness that is to start next week already. We're also going to talk about, the MVP race because the race is not over, but who knows? We might have an entire debate here just today. And last but not least, I mentioned daylight savings because it sucks big time. I don't care what you say or think about it. We're going to talk about some of the things that we wish we could save time on in the NBA. All right, lots to talk about, lots to dissect here. So let's get us started. All right, fellas. Like I said, March Madness is just around the corner. This coming Sunday, we got Selection Sunday.
Woo.
And who better to talk about college hoops than our very own Wildcat, Blake? Please take it away.
Guys, I have to say, I am so excited. March Madness, a pinnacle, one of the most exciting times of not only the season, but just in sports in general as well, too. This is something that many people look forward to, filling out their brackets, obviously cheering for their favorite teams they support as well, too. So March Madness is officially almost here, fellas. So this Sunday is actually Selection Sunday. So the brackets will be kind of released in. So we'll kind of see where all the teams land, especially the seedings. We already kind of have an idea where many teams, especially some of the top, which I'll mention in just a little bit, kind of where the 1 seeds, maybe even the 2 seeds will be a little bit too. But, in the spirit of March Madness, we always want to see who's the next Loyola Chicago, who's the next Florida Gulf Coast, St. Peter's making that Cinderella run. So something we all love. Even this is where legends are born, guys. This is where who's going to have that Steph Curry run, like a Davidson, who's going to have that Jimmer Fredette BYU run, or even Carmelo Anthony back in Syracuse all the way as a freshman national championship. So this is where legends are born and history is made. So, I'm so pumped as well, too. For many people, as you may know, this week, especially as we get ready for Selection Sunday, this week, all of the conference tournaments are actually going on right now. So this is where we'll see teams that, who may be on the bubble, making that move to get into the tournament. Keep in mind, even for those smaller conferences, when you win the conference tournament, you're automatically qualified for March Madness as well, too. So right now, there's already 5 teams that have won their conference tournaments over the past few days. So,
names.
Yeah. So some small ones out here for those that love your geography and where the teams are. So we have Southern Illinois at Edwardsville, kind of securing their place in the tournament. We have High Points from the state of North Carolina. Lipscomb, Drake, which has made some runs in the past in the tournament as well, too. And then we even have Omaha.
Is he going to be beaten by a Kendrick Lamar University or something? I had to. I know. Lars wants me out of here. I'm sorry.
Get him out of here.
Great reference there, too, as well, too. Love it. And I have to say, guys, when we look at, getting ready for Selection Sunday and the top teams, right now, the projected number 1 seeds, we have the 4, we have Auburn, we have Duke, we have Houston, and we have Florida. Those are, again, the teams that are projected number 1 right now, according to Joe Lunardi, so ESPN's bracketologist. They're likely, regardless of what happens in their conference tournaments, going to be number 1 seeds too. Many people, the betting favorite in terms of being the NCAA champion this season, it's between Auburn and Duke. Those are kind of the betting favorites that most people think will be, according to Vegas, I checked today, they're also the betting favorites too. But my question before you guys, fellas, I'm going to kind of pause on who I think is going to win, but I want to say, with all that being said, as we get ready to head into this madness, who do you guys think is going to cut down the nets in San Antonio on April the 7th and be crowned this season's national champion?
I hate to admit it, but and I truly do. I'm not an anti-Duke guy, but I think it has to be Duke. They're doing great. They have the next number 1 pick in Cooper Flagg. I don't, as much as I'm a Lakers guy and trying to, always root for the big team, for the legendary team, I'm the opposite in March Madness. Give me the Loyola Marymount's, give me, the Retrievers, give me the Sister Mary stories, give me all those Cinderella runs. So it feels weird, but at the same time, that's the beauty of March Madness, right? Anything can happen, but I don't know. Duke has looked pretty damn good, and they just faced UNC over the weekend, and really good game, amazing game, but Duke took the best out of UNC. So I don't know. I have a feeling that when was the last time? I don't know if we have that fact here that the number 1 pick in the NBA won, or had they ever won a national championship?
Oh yeah.
I think it's been a while. Yeah, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, looking at previous number 1 picks, I'm trying to think of nobody that comes to my mind that they won recently.
But yeah, sorry, that was a long story for I think Duke, and then Coach K, maybe is this his last dance? I don't know.
Yeah, gonna have to agree with the betting favorite here as well. Duke, Cooper Flagg's been looking really good. He's playing team basketball, not just looking to score. And so, they've been playing great, and like everything that Rod had mentioned, I think they're going to go pretty far. Although this is the March Madness tournament and it's one and done. And so anything goes, and that's why we all love it. I personally, much like Rod, really love a good Cinderella story. So we'll see what happens, but it's also been a while since Duke has won. So I wouldn't be too mad if they did.
So it actually turns out, I just looked into it, 2012 with Anthony Davis, your favorite, Rod, was our last number 1
Kentucky.
Number 1,
Yeah.
Yep, number 1 draft pick that ended up winning the NCAA tourney. So
13 years.
I feel embarrassed not knowing that. My favorite team, didn't even realize that was the one through there.
We'll let it out from the pod. It's too late for YouTube, but we'll let it out of the pod.
And the crazy part about it is, going back to 2000, no other number 1 pick has won. Like, they've come in the Final Four, they've come runner up, but like nobody has won except for that team.
I mean, the March Madness itself, it's a crazy tournament to win. It's grueling in its format.
That's one of the most exciting parts about the NCAA tournament. It's a one and done. So it's kind of like it's nothing like any other level of sports that we really have. Even college baseball or whatever, they're all different, like a series. And this is what makes it so much fun. That's why everybody every year on certain programs, you'll have people who are always taking a 16 over a 1, because all it takes is one moment, one game. 40 minutes of basketball, 40 minutes? I say 40 minutes?
Yeah,
they are right now?
Yeah.
As for me and my predictions, I was taking a look at everything, and obviously all season long, the SEC has been playing phenomenally. Alabama, Auburn, they've been kicking butt and taking names. But I'm a Big Ten guy. I would love for Michigan to win it. I don't see that happening. Michigan State, however, does actually stand a pretty good chance. They're playing really well. I can see them getting to the Final Four. I don't know if they're actually going to win it. Realistically, this year has been a weird year for me as far as men's basketball at the NCAA level, because other than Cooper Flagg, I can't think of other personalities. Like I can hear names, but I can't think of personalities. Whereas if you look on the women's side, sorry to be a distraction a little bit, but like you've got Haley Van Lith, you got Paige Beckers, you got Juju Watkins, you got Hidalgo from Notre Dame. Like they're full of personalities. So I'm excited for March Madness as a whole. Now that the women can actually use the term March Madness, because that's whole nother
true.
issue.
First time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the first time they were able to use it. So like my big winner here is the NCAA women's tournament. So
Hey,
Yeah,
I love that.
absolutely. Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm excited for that one as well too. I say shout out. I mean, Haley Van Lith as well too. I mean, TCU won the Big 12 first time ever. I mean, that was awesome.
Huge.
She was talking trash at the end.
Yeah, she
As
was. She was
she
pumped
should.
up. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely through that too. And I have to say, guys, just real quick, my kind of betting favorite on the men's side, who I think is going to do, give me Auburn. I mean, Auburn is looking incredible as well too. And let me tell you why. Not only I'm going to leave my hate for Duke aside, from a personal level, because ever since Christian Laettner back in the early '90s, it lives in Kentucky fans' blood, so I can't do it. But Auburn has just really been head and shoulders over many teams this season. Like they've looked so dominant as well too. I mean, again, Duke has looked really good as well too. But what I really like about Auburn is one, they're led by Johnny Broome, fantastic senior. He's actually one of the front runners with Cooper Flagg for National Player of the Year as well too. But this team is experienced. I got a fact for you guys. I love facts. Our wonderful OKC Thunder, who's incredible this season. You guys know what their average age of the starting lineup for the Thunder is?
Oh, I just read it yesterday. Yeah,
24, I think it was.
24. Very close.
So close.
Very close to that. But get this. You know what the average starting age of the Auburn Tigers is?
26.
23. But still, I mean, look at it. They're almost the same age as the Oklahoma City Thunder starting five to that too. Just for comparison's sake. I mean, think about that kind of maturity level for a team like that as well too. I mean, the experience that they've had coming in. I mean, these are grown men. I mean, they played really well together this whole season. You look at Chad Baker, Mazzara, who's actually 25, apparently got approved for another year of eligibility next year as well too. I mean, super senior. You got Pettiford off the bench as well too. I mean, a lot of great chemistry on that team. So I love their experience. But here's why I'm not on the Duke train. Okay, I love Cooper Flagg, leads Duke in every single offensive category that there is within that too. But they haven't played top competition. Okay. So in this whole season, Duke has played only 4 games against top 25 teams. They went 2-2 in those matchups. They actually beat Auburn, who I'm advocating for, at home. They were at Duke within that too earlier on in the season. Very close game. They beat Arizona on the road too, but they lost to Kentucky. They lost to Kansas. Kansas is actually, struggled this year. Even Arizona, who they beat, struggled this year. Auburn, on the other end, has played 14 games against top 25 teams, and they have 10 wins within that period as well, too. Again, SEC, as Lars already kind of mentioned, has been the head and shoulders conference this season. And just because I want to kind of mention this, being an SEC fan as well, too, but a quick thing. So ACC, you got Duke, you got North Carolina, you got great teams, Syracuse, others as well, too. You guys know how many wins that they've had this season collectively against top 25 teams? We're talking 18 teams here. How many wins do you think they've had against top 25 teams?
They're not doing well. The ACC as a whole. I'm going to say 12.
Lars Rod or Leo Rod?
No, the way you putting it, 10?
I'm going to go with 8.
7.
Ooh.
7 wins through that too. Any idea of how many SEC teams? There's 16 teams, 2 less than the ACC. How many top 25 teams do you think they have? Or top 25 wins, excuse me.
Top 25 wins?
Top 25 wins. Top 25
I'm going to
wins.
say 30.
Leo Rod? Any guesses?
That seems high to me. Let's go 20.
I say, Rod, you want to round it out?
Sure, let's go with 25.
How about 84?
What?
84 wins for the SEC and against top 25 teams compared to 7 in the ACC. So day in, day out, Auburn and their teams are playing So the best teams in the country through that too. And that's why I kind of have Auburn as kind of leading the way here as well too, and kind of my favorite personally for the national championship this year.
But doesn't that mean that like Duke didn't set their schedule? Like they're not in charge of their schedule. They got to play who's in front of them, right? So like they're playing against a bunch of ACC teams, and that's the problem. That's why they don't have that big competition. I'm very excited. I like what Rod was saying in terms of he didn't want to necessarily be a front runner and go with the blue blood of the Duke part of it. But like Duke isn't number one. They're just very good. And so I want to see Cooper Flagg just flex on them, literally and figuratively. And like I would love to see him make a really big push. I don't expect them to win, but if they get the Final Four, that'd be so much fun to see.
It would.
All I gotta say is, when you get to a certain age, and when you don't know what you're talking
probably
about,
the youngest guy between the four of us. Arguably, I don't know. Arguably,
we're all in our 30s.
Sure.
When you're given the facts and you're given all the things, you tend to be able to put the ego aside and be able to switch your opinion on things midway through a podcast, let's say. And I feel like
for yourself, brother. Feels like you don't know me and my takes.
And I feel like Blake has presented enough information for me to switch from the old Duke train to the old Auburn train now. Let's go, Auburn.
Love it. Let's go, Leo. Let's go.
I'm with Lars. Give me Michigan State all day, every day. Spartans all the way. And Kentucky Wildcats, those two teams. I used to have a soft spot for UCLA, but it's been disappointment after disappointment. I'm kind of done with that program. And, I need to diversify my portfolio. Enough with the Lakers and the Sparks. I got to go somewhere else. So I'm taking my NCAA talents to Michigan State.
Hey, why do we do that too?
To circle back to what you said a little earlier, Blake, when you were talking about the average age of the teams, I was actually kind of I was surprised that you said that was a positive for the college team. I looked at it as a negative because I look at it only from my perspective. Like I'm thinking when I'm in college and I see LeBron James, I was like, he's like my age and he's just so good, and I am not. So I was like, maybe these college kids probably feel like not so great, but you did a really good job of spinning it around. They're like, no, they're mature. They're ready for the challenge. So,
but look at Jaime Jaquez, right? He didn't get drafted as a freshman, and I think he really benefited from staying that extra couple of years. Came in NBA ready, right? Versus, and I'm not trying to pile on, but someone like Bronny, he's killing it in the G League, but you can tell, he needed maybe an extra year of development, right? I think the boy's got really, he's really talented. He just wasn't NBA ready. His body wasn't, right? Mm-hmm. And you can tell, what's the benefit of that. Obviously, there's a lot going on with the NIL, and there's a lot that we can dissect on this topic. But I don't know. I feel the ones and dones is obviously there's that level of player that you can be a one and done. But then there are the ones like this Auburn class that they can benefit from that experience, and maybe they go from end of the second round to middle of the second round in the draft. That's an improvement.
Yeah. And just on that note too, the last thing I want to mention, I think especially moving forward in college basketball, we're going to start seeing more and more teams that kind of go that kind of path in terms of the structure of their roster, where you have these much older players, especially kind of mixed with a couple of young freshmen too, just with the landscape, especially with NIL now, right? You're kind of top players who aren't, when I say top, not top 10 or lottery picks or anything like that, but those guys are kind of late first round, even maybe mid first round, when they know that they can make millions staying in college and playing as well too. It's enticing. And so I'm just going to use Kentucky as an example. They're top 15 team this season, probably the 3 seed, and they have one guy that's projected to get drafted into the second round. But the roster just collectively, it's experienced players with a few freshmen as well. And a good point case in that, and the last thing I mentioned here is for those of us that love the NBA draft too, 2 of the top 3 projected picks right now, you got Dylan Harper, who's the number 2 kind of guy coming out right behind Cooper Flagg, and Ace Bailey, who's number 3. Both play on the same team, both play for Rutgers. You got a number 2 guy and a number 3 guy. Rutgers is not projected to make the tournament. They're 14 and 15 this season. So unless they win the conference tournament, they won't be there. So we won't see two of the top 3 guys playing in March Madness. And it just shows like you need that experience as well, too, to kind of build around that roster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yes and no, because if you look back to 2020, Anthony Edwards, he didn't make the tournament, and he did.
Yeah.
He did pretty well.
Yeah. And not I wouldn't
Look at
say
Ben Simmons.
yeah, and I wouldn't say it necessarily correlates to how they're going to do in the NBA in the sense of
Got it.
you know, the team in itself, how they produce in college, right? Like as a whole, like, you know, you have those 2 guys at Rutgers, but if you don't build the rest of the roster accordingly to fit around that, it's going to be hard to kind of get that success. But no, absolutely right on
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, Selection Sunday is coming up, so we're gonna have our brackets ready, and I'm sure that we'll post them on Insta. You know, I'm gonna use my same strategy from every year. I go by branding. When I'm unsure, I just look at their logos. I look at the college coat of arms, and then I make my decision.
Perfect.
So there you go.
Hey Rod, are we having are we doing a pool this year? Not a betting pool, but a bracket. We should do a bracket, make it open
Why
to the
not?
public. See if they can
I'm
beat
down.
us.
I'm
Let's
down.
do it. Why not?
Blake
Yeah,
is spirit.
let's organize it for the people.
Yeah, we could definitely. Yeah, men's and women's. You know, I'm down to do both.
I'm
Yeah.
totally down
I
for it.
think Jalen Rose said it best. Gotta give the people what they want.
Gotta give them what they want.
Mhm.
It gets the people going.
All right, folks. Well, we're definitely gonna keep you up on everything March Madness on both sides, and I'm sure that we're gonna have a lot to talk about. And here's to all the Cinderellas that don't even know that they're gonna make a run. I'm rooting for you already.
Yeah, let's
And
go.
boo Auburn. I just don't like Auburn. All right, folks. Let's move on and let's go back to the NBA because yesterday gave us a lot to talk about. And in my opinion, in my very humble, sincere opinion, I think we're about to have a second Canadian MVP in SGA. Today, our new prime minister took off. Well, he hasn't taken office, but he was announced. But I say, great, but give me the prime minister of buckets, SGA. Yesterday, obviously, lots to talk about on the match between the Denver Nuggets and the Oklahoma City Thunder, who, by the way, are playing today as we speak. And I mean, SGA just gave everyone a ton of ammo when it comes to voting for him. He had a 40-piece. Jokic, he didn't have a horrible game, but it definitely wasn't his best game. He looked a little bit sluggish, and in the end, OKC took the win. And these are the kind of matchups that give us a lot to talk about, especially those people in the media that hold the voting rights for this kind of awards that say like, well, we had a matchup, and if there was ever a thread of doubt, that was cleared with those matchups, right? But I wanted to ask you guys, last time that we checked in, it was Blake, Lars, and I, and we unanimously picked still Jokic. Is that still the case, or have we now transitioned into sweeter things like maple syrup, and now do we go with the SGA? What do you stand? I know I gave this guy a little bit of flack in the beginning, so Leo, I'm very curious to see what you got for your boy.
I mean, here's the thing. Being a proud Canadian, I would be ecstatic if SGA won another MVP. But let's not, doubt ourselves here and think that Jokic isn't the league MVP still. I mean, there's a lot of voters fatigue going into this season. The storyline has all been SGA and his dominance and being able to score, dropping 30 points a game, every game consistently. I get all that. But come on, look at the Nuggets and the pieces that they have. A 30-20-20 game, never been done in the history of the NBA. We lose Aaron Gordon last night, and the Thunder come away with a win, sure. And they're still the number 1 seed, and I get all that. But come on, you guys. Let's not kid ourselves. Jokic is the one. He's deserving of a third MVP. It's going to feel a lot like when Embiid won the MVP, and then midway through the postseason, we all apologized and said Jokic should have been the MVP that year.
I don't think it's gonna be that to that degree.
Okay, maybe not to that degree, but definitely for me, it's still Jokic, hands down.
I love that 30-20-20 game that you mentioned, because the crazy part about the 30-20-20 game is that it was actually two triple doubles. So the first half was a triple double. The second half was a triple double, which is just mind boggling. Like
It is. Yeah.
what? So I think there's a difference between the best player in the NBA and the MVP, which it is what it is. That's what's going to be. I feel bad. I still think that Jokic is the most dominant player right now, and it's probably the most terrifying to play against because he also gets other people involved when he has a full roster. However, there are 4 players who have won the MVP while their team has a winning percentage of 800 or more. So that's like Steph Curry, Shaquille O'Neal, Michael Jordan, and Kareem. And I feel like it's going to be SGA getting that 5th one because like he's got an embarrassment of riches, but he's still standing out. Like they can after this last game, because he did so well, they could totally just like rest him because not only can they rest him because they don't need to prove their point anymore, but they can rest him because they have an excellent backup behind him and they're still going to do just fine. Like he is by far the best player, the go-to player on an excellent team. I don't necessarily think that means that he's the best player in the NBA. I still think that's Jokic. I think he's the most important player for his team. But I do think that the way this narrative is being crafted, it's shifting towards SGA harder and harder. So I personally don't love it. I would give it to Jokic, but I do think that it's going to SGA.
I mean, also Denver is in 2nd seed as we're, recording right now in the West. So, we're talking about a 1 and 2 seed here. And it should be.
Are we though? Because like they're like, it's like a 1 seed. They're what, 12 games above?
Okay, yeah.
And then there's everybody else.
They are 3rd.
So
get your facts right.
They were 2nd yesterday. Whatever, man.
Still 3rd.
No, they were 3rd because the Lakers.
Rod's looking at that 2nd team, knowing like, hey, with the Lakers there. So.
Yeah, put some respect on her name.
Who? LeBron who?
And I'll say, you know what, fellas? You know what I did today? Today I booked a 1-way train ticket straight to Maple Syrup Land. Get me on that SGA train this week, guys.
Let's go.
I am there.
Let's
I went
go.
all in on that.
We converted. Welcome to Canada, boys.
It was hard. I was like, man, do I do this? Do I stick back with my roots? Do I stay where I'm at? I talked about Jokic or just his dominance, and it's tough. This is a hard one for me. This is one of the closest in terms of, in my opinion, just back and forth from an MVP conversation, just how well these two guys have played all season as well too. And I think from an SGA, and Lars has already kind of brought this up, like I really feel like he's the best player on arguably the best team in the NBA right now as well too. I mean, just the way OKC has been playing throughout that too. And he's looked simply unguardable. Like, you got players, his peers like Ann Edwards early this season kind of talking about, he's like, you can't do anything with him. Like he scores at will. Like he drives, he'll get the foul, whatever it may be as well too. And like, he's obviously, and no slide to Joker. He's been putting up incredible numbers. That 30-20-20 was just insane as well. So, but looking at those, kind of 50 bombs that Shai's been putting up, I think I saw a graphic too, like youngest player in NBA history to have, 4 50-point games in such a short spurt within that too. I think he surpassed Wilt Chamberlain as well within that. So just looked incredible. So again, I think he deserves it. I agree with Lars. I think, Jokic is the best player in the NBA, but for me this season, I think SGA is really deserving that. But again, if it goes to Joker, I can see that as well.
But we're talking about, you guys both agree that he is the best player in the NBA. And Lars also brought up that he is the most valuable to his team. And so I don't really know what we're talking about here, where like
that's always been the issue with the MVP trophy, right? There's never been, a defined criteria for it, right? Before I get into my rant, give the people what they want. And I was like, wait, what does Walden say here? And then he followed by saying, SGA MVP. There we go. It's not me. It's the people. We're just the voice of the people. That's what we are dropping times. but no, sorry, trying to, being as subjective as we can with this incredibly subjective award, at least with the defensive stats, there's something to rely, and numbers and something to back it up. And even that's getting controversial now with all the Rudy Gobert thing going on. But with the MVP, what is the MVP? Is the MVP the best player in the best team? Is it the most valuable player in their team? And then, we get into the whole, like, well, does winning matter? Why would you not give it to the best player in the best team, right? I'm not saying that Jokic is a bum and, he's someone that no longer matters. Of course not. He's arguably one of the best players in the entire league. But, how can you not reward the best player in the best team as well, right? And it's not like SGA is just, leading the way barely within the Oklahoma City Thunder. He's doing it and dropping, 50 points at a time, and he's done it multiple times. So it's hard. And I know off the air we were having a candid discussion, you and I, Leo, but would I be upset if they give it to Jokic? No, of course not. But would I feel that SGA was a little bit, looked over? Yes, because SGA is having a tremendous season, and Jokic, he's received his flowers, he's received his accolades. It's SGA time, baby. Time to drink that maple syrup.
Yeah, it is, but it also isn't, because Jokic is having.
Wait. What you say isn't, but
better, and he's just statistically getting more clean every time he steps on the court. He's doing things that we haven't seen from him, and he's won so many. So it's kind of hard for me to. I love SGA. Don't get me wrong. He's my favorite player in the league. In the guard position, and I'm from Canada, so there's no way that I would ever, throw him under the bus like this. But it's just Jokic is dominating in a way that I don't think people are appreciating as much, because he's been doing it for so long.
You're completely right in the sense that people aren't appreciating it in the same way they probably should be. But the other thing is, part of this narrative is that head-to-head matchup. I genuinely think that 40 piece really kind of solidified it, even though it's not even legit, because they're not going directly against each other. Jokic did get hurt for a little bit. There's clearly mitigating factors, but the story is there. Yeah. And so it's hard to push back. Run it back. I guess they play again tomorrow, right? So
they're playing right
now. So hypothetically speaking, I think if Jokic goes crazy, then that brings the conversation back up. But I don't see him going crazy. I see him doing his crazy Jokic thing, which is crazy for a regular person, but not crazy for Jokic. I think he does fine, but I don't think that reopens the debate at this point, because it feels like he put a close on it. Unless SGA falters at some point between now and the end of the regular season. I don't know how you stack greatness on top of greatness. They're both fantastic.
So you think the MVP race is solidified already?
I think so. I think yesterday just
got it.
Yeah.
I think yesterday was unless
period.
Yeah, it is now SGA's to lose.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I said at the beginning of when I started talking on this segment, I'm gonna be happy either way. As long as Joel Embiid is not.
No, don't give me that. We don't do mild takes here. We don't do mild takes. No.
Yes, I am all for you.
Don't give me the Canadian easy way out.
Really,
no.
I'm gonna be happy that SGA wins. If we haven't had one since Steve Nash, and I'm not mad at it. We need a win here.
Which was debatable in and of itself, but that's a whole other conversation.
One of them. The other one.
Bring it on.
Yeah, only one of them. Only one of them.
I'm happy to have that conversation, but at least one of them, 100%. No way we can deny that there's one that here, right?
Just because Shaq brings it up every time he's on live air doesn't mean that it's debatable.
I actually think that might be the definition of it being debatable, but here we go.
I'm just gonna bring it back to this. The people know.
Right.
The people
I
know.
love it today. I have to ask. I'm not. Who's Walden Morrison? Is it? I don't know that guy.
Oh, I know him.
Am I on? You know?
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Walden knows basketball. That's all that I know.
Nice. I was like,
all right.
I didn't know the guy.
Deep thinker. That guy knows what he's doing.
Nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, safe to say that. I think we can all agree that the MVP race is somewhat written already. As of right now, I'm not gonna give you the score, but it's just solidifying the SGA case.
Yeah,
We'll see. Obviously, I honestly would be shocked if voters, aside, put numbers aside, and you mentioned it, Leo, and that's part of what makes the MVP debate so lively every year. There's a narrative, right? And there's voters fatigue, and it would be record breaking. It would be very I think we can all agree that Jokic already has his name in the Hall of Fame, basically written down.
Oh, yeah.
This would catapult him to like MJ, LeBron-esque levels.
He's a top 5 center of all time to me, as it stands right now.
I don't think you're wrong. I think you're wrong. Yeah.
100%. I mean, to be honest, I mean, if by the end of his career, I mean, he could be a top 5 player in history. I mean, incredible. He's been playing,
which is wild to think.
Yeah.
Wild to think.
Yeah.
Since we were keeping it within academia, I think Jokic is that kid that sits at the back of the classroom, never interacts in class. He might be, sometimes he even falls asleep in the class, but then he aces everything, and his papers are just a delight to read. And you go like, "Oh my God, why don't you speak up in class?" It's like, I don't want.
I would actually. I'm gonna give I'm gonna adjust that a little bit. He's really quiet kid who you don't like. If you pay attention to him, you're just like, oh, you're actually kind of brilliant. But nobody pays attention to him because he's so quiet and just does his thing, and then he becomes the valedictorian, which is exactly my experience in high school. I was not the valedictorian, but I had no idea who the kid was that walked across the stage. And I knew everybody at school, but everybody who knew him was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Huh.
So
shout out to Jokic. The real question really is, they both dropped their first signature shoe this year. Who had the better shoe is the real question.
We'll put that debate put that vote, put it up to a vote on Instagram.
Yeah.
Let's see what the votes Let's see what the people really think.
I think it also is going to go down to like who had the bigger marketing campaign, right?
Yeah.
You barely see Jokic doing any of that, right? And SJ is a slightly more personable, and I forgot who said it, but centers don't sell shoes, right?
Yeah. And one thing I want to quickly mention too, like that I think is just incredible within this kind of like debate and looking at these two players, like, and maybe it's just my opinion, but like these are two guys that like I feel like are so incredible, but they're not really talked about as much as they should be in a sense. And like, and and I can't speak on behalf of like the media in Canada, but like in the US, like when we're seeing like the first takes and everything else, like it's always LeBron, it's always KD, it's always teams in big markets, which is what we see historically, right? Like you see those as well, but like I'm not saying that Jokic doesn't get brought up or SG doesn't, but definitely not as much as they should be, within that as well too. I mean, and they're both just incredible players, and like that frustrates me, right? Like it's just how the media just drives towards that. It's so frustrating.
Yeah. And you know why? Because we spend days talking about the number 55 pick in the draft, who's just a kid. And his dad came and said something, and the other guy got offended. And he said 2 weeks ago, like, oh, people are calling me, don't call me. And now he says, you know what? You have my number. Why don't you call me? Get out of here. I don't. Sorry. Deep breaths.
Yeah, take Wusa.
Now he's going to go back to the Lizard King, and they're going to have LeBron off between the two of them. I hate it. I'm sorry. I hate it. But Blake, you're 100% right. This is the more palatable Charles Barkley take that I wanted to hear. Thank you, Blake.
Here's the problem, though. We, when I say we, I mean NBA fans, we contribute to this ridiculous cycle because
100%. Yeah.
They just like Walden said in the comments, give the people what they want. People love to hate, and they love their LeBron news. They love their KD news. They love their Steph Curry news, even though Cleveland just had their like third 12 win streak of the season. Like they're really good, as is the Thunder, but they don't get anywhere near the airtime. And I don't even necessarily put that up to it being a smaller city. I put that up to the fact that there's so many old heads and like millennials that want to hear about LeBron and want to hear about KD and want to hear about the people they knew growing up. Not necessarily a bad thing. It's just somebody needs to push the media cycle forward, and nobody wants to because they're still milking this thing because LeBron's playing like he's 30.
Yeah. Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys.
Like you can actually hear the
Yeah.
conversation is trying. They're trying to shift the Lakers conversation to Luka, which is great because it's actually moving away from LeBron. It's still on the Lakers, and that's problematic in and of itself. No offense, I love the Lakers, but it's still like
Offense. Yeah.
Denver's like Denver was only talked about when they were doing well in the playoffs. They're outstanding all year long, and you don't hear about them unless they're about to play the Lakers.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't see a problem with that.
Definitely.
I mean, Luka played really bad the other night against the Celtics. You see Al Horford just take it from him.
Oh
just
my God.
took it right from his hand.
No, we're not. You know what? This is because I started off the show with a hot take in the intro.
I mean,
It's getting personal,
that
bro.
game, and the Lakers didn't look too hot, so.
Without two starters and without LeBron in the third quarter, what are you talking about? Luka brought us back to within 4 points, and then we missed 2 games. Great for the team in green to win their game 7 against the Lakers. Go have fun, Celtics. Celebrate that win. We'll get it back. We'll get it back to 18 even. Triggered? Yes, very much so. Happy? Very much so as well. All right, let's move on to more lighthearted things. And I mentioned this at the top of the show, and I didn't used to hate daylight savings when I was younger. Obviously, I had more stamina, more energy. I'm getting up there in years. I hate it now. I hate it. You take off an hour of my sleep. It throws my entire day off. I don't know what I did with my day yesterday. Ended up cleaning, and then poof, it was already evening. But I was like, okay, how can I take this and apply it to what we talk about, which is basketball and NBA? So, fellas, since we get an hour off our biological clock, I wanted to ask you, what is one thing that you could take time away from, whether it's NBA, basketball in general? I open it up to you. What is something that you wish just give me that back, and I want to see less of this?
Give me an example of what you were thinking, and then I'll let you know what I'm thinking here.
I was ready for that. For instance, review calls, they take way too long. They don't take an hour, but I wish I could take 1 hour away from the refs reviewing that call for so long. We have all that technology. We have people in Secaucus, and they turn it over to Steve Javi just to say a piece, and then he turns out he's wrong, and the refs call something else. So it's like, I don't need this. Just someone tell me what the call is. I don't even need the ref going I have to review. No, just make the call. Let's move on with the game.
So to be honest, that was mine's a two-part. It's that exact one. It's the kind of the lengthy reviews, and it's like the fouls at the end of the game. And I don't have a solution for that, but my frustration, and I'm going to refer to college basketball real quick. It's this has happened so many times as well too that I've seen. There was a game a couple weeks ago. It was Texas A&M versus Vanderbilt. Do you guys know how long the last 3 minutes of game time actually lasted, of real time? 45 minutes. I'm not exaggerating.
Are you serious?
I'm not exaggerating that number. That is
a record? That must be a record of some sort.
It could. I have no clue. It should be. If it isn't, I'd be like, whoa. Literally the last 3 minutes of the game took 45 minutes of real time. I pulled up here because I was like, let me make sure I'm referencing this right. There were 14 fouls called in that period, 20 or in that 3 minutes, 28 free throw shot, 2 official reviews. And obviously a few of the timeouts as well, too, because it was a very close game within that, too. And this is and I don't know why ESPN and other outlets sometimes do this, but it happens a lot in college basketball where you have the first game, say, at 7 p.m., and then the next game's at 9 p.m. So many times that first game goes over, and then fans of the second, game wanting to see that have to turn to ESPN Plus, hope they have that they can watch it, or just sit through this 45 minutes of 3-minute basketball hoping to see your team. It's just so frustrating through that too. So again, I don't have a solution to that, but man, it's like soul sucking sometimes.
Yeah.
No kidding. I mean, if you're in the arena, great, free basketball, I suppose, but for everyone else watching, it drags for so long.
Yeah.
I have 2 answers. One of them is relatively standard. I like commercials, honestly. I think they're pretty fun. They can be very catchy, but then they start to repeat, and I'm like, I could do with an hour less of commercials. Like the repeated ones. Don't get me. They got to make money somehow. Cool, I get it. Some of the commercials, whatever. But like a commercial every like minute and a half just kills me, especially when they're repeated commercials. So that's one thing. The other one, this is going to be a controversial take here, so bear with me. I'm a family man. I love my family. I love my partner. I love my children. They're phenomenal. If I could take an hour away from having to think about them, and so I could focus a little bit more on I might do that, if there were no adverse consequences. Now, that's not living in the real world, but this is just a hypothetical. So if I could somehow if I could just become my like bachelor self, mid-20s, I got nothing better to do but to sit down and watch a game, maybe fall asleep during the game and come back. I don't know. That is not how I consume sports anymore. I'm focused because I need to get it where I can get it. And if I'm not, I'm focused on somebody else. And even if my kids are asleep and my partner maybe is asleep, I'm still worried that they might wake up or something might go wrong. Like I just want all of that lifted off of me for an hour. It would be lovely.
You just said what it was in a lot of people's minds.
Definitely.
Lars is a man of the peoples, as am I.
100%.
Here's what I would like to get an hour back. And because I am a man of the peoples, and my dear friend Lars is a huge fan of the New York Knicks, I would like to get an hour back for all the starters that Tom Thibodeau keeps playing, the starters, so that we actually get to see the Knicks at full strength in the playoffs.
Oh man!
Man!
We don't need that. Jalen Brunson's hurt because of that. Okay.
That should have been my answer. That's fair.
I think that's a perfect wrap up for today's episode.
That's a great one.
I nothing that I say will be any better than that. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
Amazing.
Perfect. Chef Kisleo, you killed it.
That's really
I'm sure that all the Knicks players, they'll probably give us a like from their burner account. So next time I check, if I don't recognize the accounts, I'll be like, yeah, that was Jalen Brunson.
It's at not Jalen Brunson.
Josh Dishart or something like that. Yeah.
Tough news for the Knicks there.
Yeah. Anyways, fellas, what a great episode. And for everyone watching and listening, as always, make sure that you follow us on Instagram at dropping.dimes. If you're going to get a hold of us, just send us a DM, or for a more formal method, just send us an email, contact@dropping-dimes.com. We always reply, so make sure you're there. We have a giveaway going on only in Canada for this time. We will have a US-based one for all our beloved cousins in the United States, but right now it's only open to Canada. We have our Peace, Love, Hoops package ready to be given away. All you have to do is leave a comment, tag a friend. You can tag as many people as you want on different comments, because each comment is an entry. And I will go through the very joyous tasks of writing down everyone's username and then doing a randomizer. But no, in all seriousness, we're very excited to have this, to give it away to someone in the Dropping Dimes community. And then in the summer, we'll do it for our friends in the United States. So go do that on Instagram. Share it to everyone that you know. I think Lars and Blake are going to move to Canada after SGA is named MVP. So, they'll be eligible. You won't, guys, but you know what I mean.
It's going to be hard to get residency there after. Let's not do that. Let's keep going.
Until next time, this is the Dropping Dimes crew signing off. Peace, love, basketball. Adios.
Peace.